What's up, everyone? Thanks for tuning in. We hope you're doing well today. I'm your nerdy normie reviewer, the Elvin Barber, and joining me is the lore loyalist himself, TC, the Token Cripple, and we're
Hello,
those
hello.
guys.
How's everybody doing today?
We're your one-stop shop to what's hot and what's not. But before we get started, we do ask that you smash that like button, subscribe, leave a comment if you would like, but hit that bell for notifications. So, my token friend, how are you today?
I'm all right. I'm all right.
Are you
I had to
doing,
watch this show again, so
I was going to say, are you doing better or worse after watching episode 4?
that is a stupid question, Barber. Worse.
What I can say is there was one moment in this show, just one, where I said, huh, not a
That wasn't
bad
awful.
scene. Not a bad scene, but that was toward
And,
the end. That was at the end of the
yep.
show. There was a
Everything
whole
before that was trash.
yeah, there was a whole pile of garbage leading up to it. So I guess we can just dive right in.
Sure. How'd you like the sparring training fighting match with Girl Boss and John?
Yeah, so that's literally how the show opens up. Or at least one of the scenes is soy boy John there fighting girl boss Mary, and he's got on the gloves, she's got on the boxing mitts, and what did she say? You need to hit some, you need to fight something that hits back.
Yeah. I remember fully trained Marine with who's been out of the service maybe a month, and he can't land a fucking punch.
Yeah, he's a full on Marine, full on,
It's not like he's had time to get out of shape. He's been fighting a bunch of shit.
trained by America's best. Yeah, he gets bested by this girl that weighs what 100 pounds soaking wet.
Yeah, and it's like it's one thing if he lost, but he doesn't even connect. She literally beats him at every turn. Even Batman takes a punch.
He doesn't connect at all. In fact, she makes him tap out. Like, I'm pretty sure she makes him tap out.
It's like, how is that cathartic for John? Just missing every shot. I thought the whole point was his catharsis.
I think the message is, you can get your ass kicked by a female. I think that's the message there. The
You need to
message.
hit something that hits back. There's no catharsis if he literally doesn't connect. That defeats the entire fucking point.
It's Mary. It's all about Mary. There's something about Mary. I'm just gonna start saying that now. There's something about
Oh
Mary.
Jesus!
He's so hung up
So
on this
now it's gonna
bitch.
be Soy Boy John, and there's something about Mary. That'll be
Correct.
that'll be their code names now.
Soy boy John, and there's something about Mary. Yeah.
Yeah. And they had a lot more with Bye Hippie this week.
Carlos,
God, I
right?
wish he would. Yeah, his name's Carlos, but I wish he would just leave the show.
Yeah,
I nothing against the actor, but the character's annoying.
yeah. I think Carlos might be like one of the worst things about the show. At least for me personally, I can't stand him.
Uh, yeah. At one point, they go to a veterans retreat, for like counseling, or maybe actually no, I believe it's a hospital. It's like the psych unit of a hospital, and they're in a group,
Right.
and he's giving his backstory, and I didn't realize he was being honest because they were there under false pretenses. So I thought he was just bullshitting. Turns out he actually was in the service. No
Yeah,
fucking clue how he managed to survive the war.
I thought he was bullshitting as well. Um, he kind of comes off like one of the guys. I mean, I'm not trying to be mean or malicious here, but he comes off like he wouldn't have made it back from the war. You know what I mean? To even have a story.
No.
So like I also agree with you. Like I thought he was genuinely lying when he was in the group, but apparently he was telling the truth. But I I guess I just had a
Oh,
hard
and
time
then they
believing.
had the. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I guess I just had a hard time believing him because his acting was such shit.
I, I really thought that was just part of the cover. And then there was the, oh, well, women love a guy in uniform. And so do other guys. Really?
Of
Fucking
course,
really?
of course. Oh, because that. Oh God, Carlos. None of his shit lands. Like none of it lands. Even the joke he made when there's something about Mary and Soy Boy John where they were doing their sparring and he said something about, oh, what are you guys doing, some type of hetero mating ritual, and it's like, come on.
That's also, they're so determined to beat you over the head with this is the 70s, this is the 70s. And yet they're talking like they're in 2022. They don't talk like people who were in the 70s would talk. This is not how somebody who's gay or bisexual would have spoken in the 70s. I guarantee fucking see it. I
Exactly.
they wouldn't have referred to anything as hetero anything back in the 70s. They would have said straight.
They would have said straight. It's such a modern, they're taking such a modern stance that they're very eager to throw in our faces like, oh, remember it's the 70s. We'll talk like it's the modern day, but it's definitely in the 70s. It's like it's so conflicting. You guys are dumb.
They wouldn't have used the phrase hetero anything. Fucking really.
I don't know who
That
write.
character annoys me.
Yeah, Carlos's character is not good. I think you also mentioned, well, not on stream, but to me personally, I think you mentioned that Lotta annoyed you as well this episode. Female Sam.
Yeah. I yeah, she did. She annoyed the living crap out of me. Well, no, it was really just one scene, but it's still frustrating. She makes a comment throwing shade at the men of letters about because they're dealing with a god, which they take out really fucking easily, by the way. Uh, they're dealing with a god, and she makes a comment, oh, the old white men, it makes sense that the old white men wouldn't have dealt with anything pagan or something like that. It's like, bitch, this isn't a theological discussion. In this world, in this universe, the universe of supernatural, this is all real world practical shit. That is the Men of Letters deal. They do research on fucking everything. They hoard knowledge like a miser. There's no way they would not have done research on this, not really, but kind of sort of Mars guy. And plus, they're calling him Mars, and I'm sorry, the Greek and Roman gods were so far above mortals they could just punk anybody just by wanting them dead. So fuck off.
Exactly. Fuck right
Yeah.
off. Yeah, the Men of Letters, they would have they would have definitely recorded everything to do with the supernatural. Like, I mean, hell, that's why there is the bunker there. Like, that was their one job, was to do that.
That's
And
what,
of course, you got to throw shade at, the white males because they're toxic, and they don't know what they're doing. So,
and then there's also the fact that that one tree nymph chick back in Supernatural, like dealing with Jack. Tree nymphs are not. They aren't. They aren't a Christian thing. Just saying, they're either Celtic or Greek.
where's the
So
continuity there?
again, it's not a theological discussion for fuck's sake. This is very practical. These things exist. They know these things exist. They would find knowledge on fucking everything. That's literally their bag. They know shit about things that hunters thought were myth.
Yeah, that's sounds about right. I'm noticing now with every passing episode that there's always some monster or demon or god now that it's not recorded yet, or there's no mention of it in their initial findings, and then they just happen to come across some lost object or some lost book or something, and it's like, oh, here's that monster you were looking for, and here's how to kill him.
Which is kind of funny because there's no such thing as Google yet. Because it's the 70s, as they keep reminding us.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh my gosh, show's the worst. Yeah, what was the Roman Mars Netto, I think was the
Yeah.
was the big bad this episode.
Oh, also, John can't even land a punch on Mary, but he's able to fight Mars, the god of war, with a spear.
Yeah. Yeah, because yeah.
God.
Yeah, I got nothing. That's I mean, we know why, at the end of the day, we know why they did that, but it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense.
I also felt like they were throwing shade at veterans.
What do you mean?
In this, like, the group session, they had Mars as the toxic white soldier, of course.
Of course.
And he just doesn't want to share his fifis, and therefore he must be the evil villain. Freaking really. And there's nothing wrong with therapy, but it's not for everybody, really. Like, so treating the guy who doesn't want to do therapy as the villain, it's just stupid.
Yeah, not a great direction to go in dealing with that. John's PTSD's back. I know we referenced that last episode. I know we, in the sense that they didn't bring it up again. It happened once, episode 1, and then they didn't even cover it again 2 or 3, and then they happened to bring it back up here.
I think they did a single scene in 2.
Oh,
and then completely ignored it in 3.
Right. To the point in this episode where he almost became a morgue robber and took somebody's jewelry.
Oh, yeah. He saw somebody's cross and decided, and that caused the PTSD flashback. And if the widowed woman hadn't have come in and said, okay, I have to get my husband's effects, he totally would have stolen that fucking cross.
Oh, most
he might not,
definitely.
he wouldn't have meant to, probably, but he would have done it. And it's not exactly, you can't exactly steal something and then go and return it to the freaking morgue.
Yeah, he definitely would have stole it, hands down. Yeah, again, painting John is such a great light. Great light.
Fucking incompetent.
But
they made him go from the definition of Chad to freaking grave robber.
But at least,
for no reason.
At least this episode, they went undercover, right? They all dressed as doctors and all pulled it off.
Yeah.
With no credentials.
This is supposed to be a military. Yeah. Sam and Dean have freaking credentials all the time.
All the time.
We never see them show credentials.
Nope. We're just taking their word for it. Apparently, this is how things are done in the 70s. There would be
identity checks. Yeah, especially around a military base.
especially around a military base. Yeah, I mean, who wants to check somebody's
or a
credentials
military
there?
hospital, but either way.
Either way, like checking somebody's credentials is definitely not. It's not priority, so anybody can just walk the fuck in.
Yeah. I they're doing so bad. The characterization is so bad. All the characters are either incompetent, bitchy, or and we're supposed to root for them.
We
Mata
are.
has been demoted in my mind back to female Sam. I went through the trouble of learning her name. She is back to female Sam starting today until she proves herself again.
I know, just like that. She's back to female Sam.
Oh God. She annoys me. They all annoy me. There
Wasn't
isn't a single character. Oh, uh Rando from the movie theaters back.
oh right, the who happens to be a reporter. Who happens to be a
He's a
reporter
reporterman, yes.
because the plot needs him to be. So he's looking into the
Even though I thought he was just a one off.
right. Um, well, they got to keep him around, for something about Mary, so she can be like, "Ooh, should I with him? Should I with him? What should I do?" Blah blah blah.
Don't go out with the guy who you clearly are interested in, who saved your life at least twice that we know of now. Uh, Go out with some rando that you met at the movie theater, because that's exactly the level of caution a supposedly competent hunter would have to some rando just showing up at the movie theater when they show up.
Exactly. You end up cucking the other guy because you're a fucking bitch, and even when he tries to ask you to go to the movies and you're pretty much telling him to fuck right off, and then you go to the movies without him, and then you go to the movies with someone else. I fucking
That you
know.
just met
Yeah, that you just met.
in the
I,
line to the movie.
I really can't stand her character. She is fucking awful.
Why did they even greenlight this spinoff?
I don't know. I I don't know. We're gonna get into something a little later on in a different stream that goes over the CW and how they're pretty much not ordering more episodes for the Winchesters. So
God, we can only hope.
I think they might be done with at season one.
They'll
Maybe.
probably try and do a spinoff with Jody and the girls, which would be better,
Yeah.
or could be better,
Well, in the hands of the right
with the right people
writers.
who give a shit.
Yeah. It would be better. Instead, we have this show and we have them coming across the one book they need to fight this god that happens to be in a room that
Oh,
hasn't been opened for a year under a bed collecting
because
dust.
Dead Girl, and it's the first one they freaking find.
The first one. I feel like as soon as she opened the book, she came across the page with the god on it.
Yep, there's this huge bunker that's supposed to have the biggest library repository of all things supernatural knowledge, and oh, they don't have it. It's in a folktale book the dead chick had. Fuck off.
It's been in a folktale book under the dead girl's bed for it could have been longer than the year because she could have had it all this time, but of course it's not in a
Yep.
bunker with tons of material on the supernatural. No,
Where that's literally their job.
why would it be there? Oh, and can you tell the people at home how they ended up beating this god?
Oh yeah, they destroyed a fucking vase. Because that's all you need to do to beat a god of the ancient Greco-Roman pantheon. Just break a fucking vase.
You destroy a fucking vase. Oh my
You do
god.
realize that again, these gods, it kind of drove me nuts when they would fight Greco-Roman gods in Supernatural because I know enough about them to know that they're so far above us. Like, haven't they ever played God of War? Like, you can't just
Yeah,
break a
come on.
fucking vase.
Exactly. You're not breaking a vase and weakening Kratos. Get the fuck out of here. Get out of here.
And again, he can't beat Mary in a fist fight, but he can beat the toxic white god of war in a spear fight.
I'm surprised they gave him that win, to be honest. I'm surprised they didn't give it to Mary. She didn't just come in and save the day.
And I'll be honest, they surprised me in this episode because I saw Toxic White Soldier and I immediately was like, he's the villain because I know how current year works. And then they killed him. So I was like, oh, he's not the villain. He's just incompetent. So they managed to get their cake and eat it too.
Yeah, there was a little
Because not
misdirection there. They kind of got me as well. I'm not gonna lie. There was a little misdirection there.
so they got to have their cake and eat it too. He was both incompetent and the villain.
I so like my favorite part, or one of my favorite parts, is when I thought Carlos was just gonna get deaded
Yeah, when he
when he,
stepped on the landmine,
yes. Well, one when he got just pulled into the room in general, because usually that
he should have
Roman
just died
god,
then. Yeah.
yeah, he just kills the person that just gets into that room. So I'm like, oh yeah, Carlos isn't living, and then I see Carlos does live, but then he steps on the landmine, and I'm like, yes, like please just blow him the fuck
Blow
up.
up, please.
Blow up, please. You would just increase the value of this show tenfold if you just blew him the fuck up. But no, here comes John to help him out.
Uh, the show, these characters. I'm sorry, breaking a vase would not weaken Kratos. It wouldn't weaken Mars. It wouldn't weaken any god. And if a god was that weak, they're not a god.
Yeah, they're a bitch. There's something else. There's no guys getting weakened by a vase. That's just not happening. But they
Again,
made
how
it.
can you beat a god of war with a spear fight? Who uses spears in this day and age? You wouldn't learn to use a spear in the fucking Marines, but you would have learned to fist fight.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of weird too. The choice of weapon used in the. I'm like, okay, so it's a spear, but it's supposed to be like a heated spear that's supposed to separate it from a regular spear. Is that it's supposed to cauterize
Cauterize
wounds?
his wounds.
Yeah, like okay.
Okay.
I mean, the one part I did respect was that the guy was trying to make John, a Chad and
A better fighter.
a better
Yeah.
fighter, but I think it was just gone about wrong in the way they handled it. Just wasn't
I'm nothing like you. Um, you could probably use a bit more toxic white male in your
exactly just a
in your
little, just a little. You could.
with your soy coconut milk self.
But I do. So the one thing I will say I do like about this episode, and I referenced it earlier, was the end when John is forced to face, what happened to him, and now he's overwhelmed with these emotions, and he's in the shower and he's breaking down and he's very emotional. He's crying, and he's not, he
And his
doesn't.
mom just comes up
Yeah, his mom consoles him.
and
He doesn't have to say a word. She doesn't have to say a word. We don't have to. We just know. We can feel it.
she's not being condescending. She's just a mother being there for her son. Good on them. That's the one good thing they've done this entire series.
It really is. It really is the one good scene out of the entire series. But other than that, show is shit. It's still shit. What
Big
would you?
surprise.
What would you give your ranking from 1 to 10 on this episode?
I honestly, I'm on the edge between a 2 and a 1. Um, because they had that one really good scene, but they also made the one character I kind of liked prior to now into a bit of a condescending bitch about the toxic white males not doing their fucking job. So 1.5. I'll go with a 1.5.
I'm gonna
How
go
about you?
with a 1. I would make it a 2, but Carlos is still alive, and that 1 is only because of the final scene, just how impactful that final scene was at the end of the show. But other than
And
that,
it's
it was
that proves that the actor who played John can act. Holy shit, he can actually act when he's given the opportunity.
yeah, he's a phenomenal actor. That's in most cases. You can tell he's really trying to bring that character to life, but he's just stalled due to the shit material he has to work with, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, actors can only elevate the material so much before you just cap because of the level of material you're dealing with.
This is very, very true. Very true. Well, that is it for our episode 4 review of the Winchesters. We do ask again that you hit that like button, subscribe,
Subscribe and ring the bell.
ring the bell, and leave a comment if you so choose.
Yeah, we want to hear what you guys have to say.
Yeah, we want to hear if you guys like the show or, don't like the show or, just let us know what you think. Let us
Did
know
we
what you
get
think.
anything wrong? Did we miss something? Was it worse than we thought?
Let us know.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the words of Sam Wilson impersonating Captain America, do better out there, folks.
Yep.
Do
Do
better.
better, everybody.